floor.
Thank you, Manfred. Thank you for your kind words, ladies and gentlemen, dear esteemed colleagues. It's my distinct pleasure to be able to address you today, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for your continuous support. Thank you for the confidence that you have demonstrated in me and the party. I have the privilege to lead Nea Δημοκρατία. But first of all, above all, thank you for your solidarity to the Greek people, a solidarity that was granted during a very trying period in our history and is still sustained in spite of the fact that the Greek crisis has been unnecessarily prolonged. As you know, Greece was the first victim of the populist tide that hit Europe. It has paid a heavy price for electing a government that has proven woefully incompetent to manage the country's fortunes. I would like to remind you, as you did, dear Manfred, that at the end of 2014, after a deep 6-year recession, Greece was ready to turn the corner. It had managed at the time to achieve a remarkable fiscal adjustment. The economy was growing again. The forecast for 2015 at the time was that the Greek economy would grow at 2.9%, but unfortunately that positive prospect was overturned as a result of Syriza coming to power. And instead of growth, we had a recession of 0.7%, and instead of exiting the program as we had anticipated, we ended up signing a new 3-year program. And that program was put in place following a notorious U-turn by Syriza, termed as a kolotumba, a Greek word that is used to describe unscrupulous 180-degree shifts in political courses of action. However, I need to point out that kolotumbas are not sufficient for policy implementation, and that the shift from populism to pragmatism requires more than a declaration of intent. It requires an action plan, it requires the ownership of a new political agenda, conviction, as well as the true skills to implement reform. As much as some may believe the opposite, Syriza can boast none of the above. The Syriza experiment, no matter how you count it, has cost us dearly. Some estimate in excess of 100 billion euros. We've suffered unnecessary pain for 3 years. Let me just give you one figure. The estimates at the end of 2014 were that at the end of 2017, Greek GDP would have reached 209 billion euros. It will barely reach 180 billion euros. It's a grim reminder of the damage that populists can inflict should they succeed in winning elections. And I do hope that the government has learned its lessons when it comes to completing the third review. I hope that the third review is going to be completed on time. But even if that happens, the situation in the real economy remains problematic. Long overdue privatizations are at a stalemate. Important foreign investments are constantly being delayed by the government and the public administration. The economic climate is in decline. The real economy is significantly constrained by exorbitant taxation, unnecessary regulation, and severe administrative impediments. And significant reforms in education and public administration have been rolled back. I would just like to make a quick comment on fiscal policy, because I think you will find this interesting. Syriza made a very conscious choice to overtax the Greek middle class and place an unnecessary burden on the real economy in order to leave the Greek public administration intact. I think this was a wrong choice. But it was also a choice that was partially accepted by our creditors without much consideration on the impact it would have on the real economy, on job creation, and on social cohesion. So, Greece may no longer make the headlines, but the Greek problem is not completely solved. The country is limping towards the end of the program in August 2018, and then we will face the tough challenge of accessing the capital markets. At the same time, the sustainability of the Greek debt will also need to be addressed. In other words, we will need to fully regain the confidence not only of our creditors, but also of international capital markets. And I think that this is a tall order for the current government. And I firmly believe that a change in government is a necessary precondition for putting a permanent end to the cycle of austerity and restoring Greece's rightful position as a credible partner in Europe. I have the privilege of leading NOL, the traditional party, which has become a cornerstone of Greek democracy since 1974. At the same time, I am fully conscious, as I'm sure you are as well, of the skepticism with which citizens view traditional establishment parties. And at a time when trust in politics is low, we cannot continue with a business-as-usual approach. This is why our plan is bold and ambitious, both when it comes to actually changing the party, but also when it comes to presenting Greeks with a clear plan for the future. As we've discussed many times, you cannot fight populism with more populism. You have to tell people the truth. At the same time, you have to demonstrate that you have actually learned from your mistakes, bring in new talent, and present a fresh face to a tired and frequently cynical electorate. But most importantly, you have to talk to people about the issues that they really care about and to make them feel that you can make their everyday life better. What does this mean in Greece? This involves talking to them about private investment, about job creation, about lowering the tax burden for the middle class, about improving education, ensuring our neighborhoods are safe, and providing those in need with an adequate safety net. Our plan addresses all these issues, and I would go as far as saying that we're the only political party in Greece that has a coherent and comprehensive plan for the post-economic adjustment program period. And the main thrust of our plan consists of making Greece an attractive investment destination, leveraging the significant comparative advantages of our country. And the Greek economy needs to grow at between 3 and 4% to make up for 8 lost years. But in order for this to happen, we need a very ambitious reform agenda that streamlines public administration, addresses problems in the banking sector, simplifies licensing, promotes entrepreneurship, and places a big emphasis on providing our workforce with the right skills for a rapidly changing job market. And I have made it my utmost personal priority to assume full ownership of this bold reform agenda. For too many years, dear friends, Greeks have been presented with reforms as a necessary evil, as the price we need to pay to receive the next tranche of bailout assistance. And it's no surprise that for most Greeks, the word reform is associated with tax increases and pension cuts. But reforms and austerity are not the same thing. If anything, one could argue that austerity has gone almost too far in Greece, and that the next big challenge for the country is to restore a competitive economy and a well-functioning public administration. And this is my goal, to assume full ownership of a bold reform agenda that will be implemented with speed and efficiency, to regain full confidence of our creditors and the capital markets, and this is the mandate that I will seek to receive from the Greek people. Contrary to what many may believe so far, today, more than ever, many Greeks are actually listening to this narrative. The scars of populism have made it painfully clear that there is no such thing as a free lunch. We are entering the era of the politics of post-populism. Those who promised access to financial assistance without assuming their share of responsibility have been discredited. And now, having belatedly accepted the need for reforms, they have neither the true will nor the true skill to implement them. And this will be our job, the job of the next government, to build a strong Greece in a strong Europe. The main pillars of our plan have been presented to the Greek citizens this September. Now we're in the process of finalizing all aspects of our program. The program has been very well received. We have a double-digit lead over Syriza, and I'm confident that we will win the next election convincingly whenever it takes place. But my goal is very clear, dear Manfred and dear friends. Under our leadership, Greece will no longer be the poster boy for problems of the Eurozone. We are committed in taking a leading role in shaping the future of Europe. The project of European integration, and thanks to your leadership, dear Manfred, has acquired new momentum. Common ground needs to be found on necessary changes to strengthen the architecture of the Eurozone. But apart from changes in the Eurozone architecture, Greece has much to contribute on other crucial aspects of the European Union's integration project. And let me quickly highlight 4 of them. First, common defence policy. We are one of the 4 NATO countries that spend in excess of 2% of our GDP on defence. And I envision Greece playing a leading role in shaping our common defence policy. And I noted with great interest the reference that President Juncker made to the Permanent Security Cooperation Mechanism as the sleeping beauty of the Lisbon Treaty. Second, migration and common border management. The border of Greece is the border of Europe and vice versa. And securing our borders needs to be a European responsibility. Europe needs a common asylum policy to avoid asylum shopping. It needs more efficient return policies. It also needs to demonstrate more solidarity when it comes to relocation. And it is not just about money, dear Manfred. More burden sharing is necessary to demonstrate in principle that we stand united when addressing this common challenge. What I cannot accept, and what no Greek can accept, is that our islands are turned into permanent refugee camps with the numbers of migrants and refugees far exceeding their capacity. Third area of priority, Western Balkans. Regardless of the problems that Greece has, it still remains a pillar of stability in a turbulent area, and Greece should and can become a catalyst for stability in the Western Balkans, and I'm sure that this is an agenda that we all in this room care a lot about. And fourth, energy and energy security. Due to Greece's geographic location, Greece should aspire to play a critical role as a transit point for diversified energy sources. At the same time, it has the potential of becoming a true powerhouse in renewable energy, be it solar, be it wind, be it geothermal energy, and lead Europe's drive towards decarbonization and a low-emission economy. Mr. Chairman, dear Manfred, let me conclude by saying that Greece was the first country to elect a populist government to power. Nonetheless, the pendulum is swimming back in the other direction. We will prove that the politics of truth, competence, reason, moderation will prevail again. The Greek people have suffered a lot during the past 8 years. They have assumed their share of responsibility with dignity, but they deserve to know that they can face a future that is challenging with optimism. We owe it to them to charter a path towards inclusive growth where no one will be left behind. We also owe it to the 400,000 young Greeks, men and women, who have abandoned our country over the past years in search of a better future abroad. Many Greeks consider their best passport to success to literally be their passport, and that is something that is not acceptable to me. We can build a strong Europe, a strong Greece in a strong Europe. Too much hard work has been done from all parties involved not to succeed now. I have no doubt that we will succeed, and I would like to thank you again, personally you, Manfred, but our political family, for the continued support you have provided, and I'm sure you will provide, to the efforts of Nea Δημοκρατία in Greece. Thank you very much for your attention.